In our talking about truth, love, and justice, thus far we've really focused on truth, and now I'd like to talk a bit more about love and justice and their role in helping transform our lives and the lives of our communities. I believe love is actually one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful force in the universe. Love manifests itself in many different ways. I think love in the physical realm manifests itself as attraction. And in fact, we might want to define love as attraction. And initially, that is the attraction of quarks and photons and finally atoms into cells, into molecules, into ultimately creation. All of that is held together by attraction or love. And our society, our world, our lives, our psyches, our beings are held together by love. And so we can examine this love in the physical world scientifically through physics and chemistry, biology, to see how things hold together. An example is our own bodies. We have here this rich diversity. I have eyes that are very different from my teeth, from my fingernails, from my hair. All of these things are united. They all are attracted. They all are working in harmony. They all have a connection, just as the atoms of the universe have a connection. And it is because of that connection, it is because of that harmony that my body prospers, that my body is healthy, that it lives. And as long as I can maintain that kind of balance, that attraction, cooperation, connection between the various parts of my body, which are actually antagonistic. I could use my fingernails, for instance, to scratch out my eyes or scratch my skin, or my fist to beat myself. I could use my mouth to do good or to do harm. I can use these things to help or hurt my body. And because of the organization and the cooperation, my body thrives. When it works against itself, whether it is physically, mentally, or spiritually, we have a problem. And we do see many problems in the world today. And fortunately, the medical community is helping us solve many of the problems. Science is helping us to live longer lives, healthier lives, to be able to see how we can keep balance and harmony in our body. Science is also beginning to help us uncover how do we develop this love or attraction, maintain this attraction within societies and within civilizations. And when you have that unity, which is actually in the body, it's really a unity that is essential for life. When there is unity, you have life and growth. When there is disunity, you have death and decay. So the ultimate sign or symbol of love is unity. So if you want to evaluate how much love there is existing, is how much attraction. Again, if you want to use the word attraction. For many years, I was a professor and worked in universities. And when I first began exploring these ideas, I was very hesitant to use the term love because in academic and scholarly communities, love is a little too soft or woo-woo. It's not a kind of word you'd use in scientific circles. And so I would use things like care, compassion, kindness, courtesy, things like that, aspects that are reflections of love. But as I began studying more the literature of philosophy and especially religion, I felt I was compromising the truth of that concept, that it really is love, and that I should call it love. And if people want to roll their eyeballs or feel that that's not acceptable, that's fine. But I felt I needed to be honest, and I felt it was worth recapturing the power of that term and of that essence that I think motivates the whole universe. And we can see it in our physical world. We can see it in our body. But not only is the richness, the beauty of it, because beauty is another aspect. When the Greeks were looking at the ideals in terms of philosophy, there were truth, beauty, and goodness are the good. And you can see how those relate to truth, love, and justice. The idea, though, in terms of beauty is unity and diversity. So you do not want uniformity. You do not want sameness. You want diversity. That's what makes my and your body so powerful. We have this diversity. We have eyes that can see, ears that can hear, that can taste, that can do things. All of these, everything plays a role, and everything has a place. And it has, if I was missing any one of these elements, it would be disconcerting. I would be less powerful. I would be less beautiful. I would have less of that unity factor. I am able to manifest all of that because all of this diversity plays a role. And the same, I'm using the body really as a metaphor for us to try and understand the how this will manifest in the social, mental, and spiritual worlds. Because our world is also like a body. And if we do not have love in this world, if we are not working together in harmony, if there isn't a unity, then we will have destruction. It will not progress. And it will not be beautiful. If we don't have that diversity. In other words, we don't all want people to look like I do, as beautiful as I may be. But you do want to have all of that diversity because that creates. So if everyone looked alike, it wouldn't be beautiful. It is because people look different. People have different talents. People have different qualities. And it's when we can honor all of those things and say, yeah, my eyes are important. And maybe you want to think, oh, well, my intestines, that's kind of disgusting. Let's not even talk about them. But if your intestines don't work, you're going to die. Your intestines are integral to your well-being. And so to look down on them and to say, oh, that's so disgusting. We don't even want to think that's part of our body. We want to ignore that. Well, you can ignore it as long as it's working, but as soon as it doesn't work, you are in big trouble. You can't live. So we have to realize that every part of humanity, just as our body, plays an important part. And each one has its place. And that we should not be favoring one thing over the other. That we should recognize that as long as each part is healthy, the whole body can be healthy. Any part gets hurt, the whole body is hurt. And so this also deals with the aspect of justice as well. If we are not fair to, let's say, our intestines, if we don't take care of them, we will suffer. Our eyes, our minds, the rest of our body will not be able to function. And so we need to find that kind of balance and love for all of the various elements so that they can be united and work together. So love manifests itself, as I talked about in terms of truth, at various different levels. For instance, our bodies have love. That love it tends to be manifested in our desires. We love food, for instance. We love comfort. We love to take care of our body, that these keep warm and clean and healthy. And so because of that love, we do take care of that. But now that love needs to be transcended, and it's initially transcended by a kind of egotistical love. So, for instance, my body loves sugar and fat and things like that. Donuts, cookies, things like that. So if my body is saying, I love those things, and therefore I'm attracted to those things, and you want those. And so my body says, eat donuts and cookies and sweets and ice cream and things like that. Now, my ego would also say, I want my body to be happy. I don't want to fight with my body. I deserve to have all those nice things. But ethnocentrically, they're saying you need to be moderate. And if you want your body to stay healthy, which probably you do, you shouldn't be eating all those things. And you should be, if you eat those things, you need to eat them in moderation, whatever that means, according to that ethnocentric group that you belong to. And moderation will vary. Some groups eat lots of these things, and some groups hardly ever have any of them. But if you get to the world-centric kind of view, and you're able to look at, okay, if we look at all the diets around the world, we can have a better sense. But ultimately, if we can get to a higher sense of, for instance, what is scientifically healthy for my body, then my higher mind should be able to control my body. My body should not be controlling my mind. And that's the situation we have in many parts of the world today, where the cultures actually are elevating the body above the mind. And they're saying, no, your body should treat your body well. You deserve the best. And they will cultivate that kind of desire and love for these and feed these kinds of passions. And the things that you feed are the things that grow. So, for instance, I love the sugar and sweets, but egocentrically, I also like to be liked, and I like to belong. And so, even though I might say, and I like people to think I'm a good person, so I like the cookie, but if my mother says, don't eat the cookie, I'll get punished, which is more of a justice kind of thing. I will not do that because egocentrically, I don't want my ego to be hurt or the pain that might come from whatever punishment I might get. And ethnocentrically, I want to be accepted by my group, and so I will moderate my body's desires according to that. Ultimately, I think we need to get to a universal sense of what is love and also what is justice. And so these things, each higher level should help us control and limit our lower desires and passions and the things we love, are attached to. And that's another sense of what you love. What are you attached to? What do you value most? And often for people in the West, it is money. The thing they love the most is money. So they will say, well, what do you spend your money on? That's what you love. And so these are all ways to kind of think about love. We need to start cultivating. And let me share with you an example from my own life. I tend to, as I remember, I was telling you about the twirly whirly and how we have these three, this windmill or these wind turbines where we have truth, love, and justice. And that we all tend to favor one or another of these spokes. And as a result, we're out of balance. For me, partly because of my culture, maybe because of my gender, I have tended to favor truth, knowledge. And so whenever I would interact with somebody, I was always the person who would have the answers. And I loved having the answers. It was part of the reason I went into teaching. I like to know things, and I want to know things. I am driven by knowing things. But I found as I began exploring this model about truth, love, and justice, I began to examine my own self and to say, well, which one of those spokes am I weakest in? And my weakness was really in love. And whereas before, if I was going to give a talk like this, I would spend all my energy just on what is the knowledge I want to convey. Later on, and if I was in a conversation, it was always about knowledge. I was always bringing truth to the conversation. And realizing that that often was not effective or helpful. And so as I began exploring more into philosophy, psychology, and into religion, I began to look at, well, how would love manifest? And so more and more as I've given talks, talked to people, try to help, I don't try to do it with knowledge. I try to do it with love. And so I try to care about people. I try to show my compassion. Instead of trying to show how smart I am, I want to try and show a little bit more about how loving or how caring. And so even initially, I would have to stop myself and say, well, you're saying, oh, well, no, that's wrong. What they're saying is wrong. I would say, well, if you care about this person, if you love this person, if you want the best for this person, what are you going to say to them? Don't say the truth necessarily, but convey. And so even if initially, when I may have not felt it, it's like, then act like you care about. If you cared about them, you don't, but if you cared about them, how would you act towards them differently than you're acting now? And by my doing that, transformed me. It transformed my relationships. It transformed the communities. I was a director of a university, a school of education, and instead of always trying to be giving out just the knowledge, I was always trying to introduce love into the conversation and to consider love in our interactions with our students, with other colleagues, with other departments. What would love look like? And how can we be loving? How can we be the people who begin that process of transformation in the various communities? And so, again, I would like to encourage you to think about that, to think again and analyze yourself, do this exercise of which one am I strongest in, and then try to back off of that and develop strength in these other areas. If you are a head person, try to develop more of your heart. Try to become more pure-hearted. That's another problem that I've had to deal with. Not only do you love your body and its desires, but you love your ego. You love people thinking, oh, he's so smart and he knows so many things. If that's your motivation in talking to people, that is it's an impure motivation, and it will pollute any relationship that you have. So try to purify your motives, your heart, and become more detached from your ego, from your ethnocentric viewpoints. And so with that, I'm going to leave the conversation of love for now. And in our next session, we will talk about justice. Thank you.